Currently, Marvel is the largest comic book publisher on the market. They publish more than half of the monthly titles. Most of their movies are blockbusters at the box office, and every year they make billions of dollars from their character merchandise. Despite this, the publisher is not exempt from making several mistakes. That is why, on this occasion, we will talk about the 10 worst things in current Marvel comics. 10. The mishandling of magic. Magic is one of the most powerful narrative devices in any work of fiction. Characters like Ghost Rider, Scarlet Witch, Enchantress, and Doctor Strange are some of the most powerful beings from the publisher. Even so, Marvel does not usually exploit the full potential of these characters, even going so far as to drastically reduce their abilities for the sake of the plot. Even without taking this into account, the truth is that the publisher does not know how to correctly use magic in its stories. In Infinity, the Sorcerer Supreme was easily defeated and manipulated by Thanos' right-hand man, while Wanda was relegated to a secondary role from the House of M. Characters like Doctor Doom and Thor, who possess great magical powers, often put them aside to solve some conflict otherwise. Even in big events like King in Black, Secret Empire, or the War of the Realms, you don't usually see magical characters, although they should be more than capable of defeating the villains in turn. 9. The aftermath. Marvel has given us great and iconic stories like the Infinity Gauntlet, Kraven's Last Hunt, Civil War, Planet Hulk, and Old Man Logan. All these stories have become cult, which has led Marvel to create sequels to these works, which usually don't turn out very well. Jonathan Hickman's Secret Wars was a great wrap-up to his Avengers run, and a worthy successor to the original story. However, works like Planet Hulk 2, Civil War 2, and Old Man Hawkeye are unable to live up to their predecessors. Believe it or not, Heroes Reborn had a sequel. The Clone Conspiracy and The Lost Hunt are indirect sequels to the Clone Saga and Kraven's Last Hunt. That's not to mention the 4 Spider-Verse sequels that exist so far and the almost 10 Marvel Zombies sequels and spin-offs. While most of these stories tend to be flops, it doesn't seem like Marvel has any plans to stop this practice. 8. The variant covers. Variant covers are one of the most common practices in the industry. Even so, Marvel has taken her further. Each month the publisher publishes at least one collection of variant covers focused on a particular theme. Whether they are commemorative covers of a character, some where a specific hero merges with the protagonist of the title, or covers that commemorate the new licenses from the publisher. Not to mention that each Marvel comic has at least one variant cover, and in the case of its best-selling titles, these can have up to 7 covers. You'd think this could be solved simply by avoiding buying the covers we're not interested in. But unfortunately it's all too common for the best covers to sell out quickly, so most of us readers have to settle for the lesser-selling covers of our favorite titles. 7. The rejection of the X-Men. Currently, the X-Men own nearly half of Marvel's monthly titles. These are some of the publisher's best-selling comics, surpassing the Avengers titles. That should be a good thing. However, it has brought several problems for these iconic characters. Marvel has a bad habit of preventing their most popular characters from evolving, and if they do, they will eventually return to the status quo in future installments. In the case of the X-Men, this refusal to change has led to the fact that, for almost 60 years, these characters have been branded as a threat within the Marvel Universe and always seek the approval of humanity. It doesn't matter how many times they save the universe or prevent the destruction of the Earth, mutants are doomed to be feared by those they seek to protect. It is true that with the age of Krakoa this has begun to change, but I ask you, the readers who enjoy the current X-Men comics, how will they feel once Marvel decides to restore the status quo and throw away everything these characters have accomplished? 6. The status quo. As we said in the previous point, Marvel loves to leave things as they are. With several decades behind it is surprising how the publisher insists on keeping its characters stagnant. Although characters like Thor are immortal and practically do not age, the rest of the heroes do not usually have a true evolution. Even when they turn evil, or destroy a city, there is usually no consequence for them. DC is going through something similar, and in their attempt to fix it, they created new characters that share the name of the classic heroes, in order to bring stories that they wouldn't dare publish with their most important characters. Marvel tried to do the same with heroes like Miles Morales, Jane Foster, X-23, and Ben Reilly, but instead of showing us a true evolution of these heroes or their counterparts, all that potential was wasted. Currently, Laura has resumed the name of X-23. Jane Foster lost Mjolnir. Ben Reilly has been turned into a villain on 3 different occasions in the last 10 years. Agent Venom and Superior Spider-Man are characters that once sold more than the original Spider-Man and Venom, but Marvel's refusal to show us a mature version of the Arachnid led to the removal of both heroes. 5. Movies influence comics. Marvel Comics usually builds its editorial line based on the MCU. This was most marked in Jason Aaron's run on the Avengers where, not counting Cap, Iron Man, and Thor, the lineup was made up entirely of characters who had recently made their film debuts or would make their debut in the near future. This, instead of benefiting the comics, has brought a regression in certain characters. A clear example of this we can see with the mighty Thor, one of the few heroes who was well received when Marvel decided to change the gender of some characters. Jane had a lot of growth in her time as a hero and even became a Valkyrie after losing the Mjolnir. This new evolution of the character quickly charmed fans. Sadly, and with the release of Thor: Love and Thunder, the publisher decided to bring back the mighty Thor, causing Jane to lose her Valkyrie powers and undoing her new status in the Marvel Universe. 4. There are no comics for mature readers. Since the extinction of the Marvel Knights label, there have been no works focused on a mature audience. Although titles like Punisher, Alien and Predator are intended for an older audience, the truth is that these comics are for people over 13 years of age, which limits the tone of the stories quite a bit. Heroes like Daredevil, Ghost Rider, Doctor Strange, Deadpool, Wolverine or Spider-Man himself have shown that they can work very well in stories of this type and readers love them. Marvel should consider creating a new imprint to house mature stories, or at least bring more such stories. 3. Characters don't age. Unlike DC, which tends to restart its editorial line from time to time, Marvel does not usually have reboots or crises. The closest thing to it was Secret Wars, but the truth is that the origins of most of its heroes remain the same. During the early days of the Krakoa era we learn that only 11 years have passed in the history of the Marvel Universe since the Fantastic Four's debut, which doesn't make sense. This implies that in a single decade events such as the arrival of Galactus, the death and resurrection of Human Torch, the Dark Phoenix Saga, the Infinity Gauntlet, House of M, Civil War, Secret Invasion, Secret Empire, Planet Hulk and the 2 occurred Secret Wars. In fact, King in Black is believed to have occurred a week after the events of the War of the Realms. This creates several discrepancies between the stories, since it is illogical to think that cities that are destroyed during an event are rebuilt so quickly. That without counting the large plot holes that this fact causes in the classic stories of the publisher. It's normal for DC's constant reboots to be confusing, but in Marvel's case, maybe it's a good time to do one, before the character's story continues to expand to the point where nothing makes sense anymore. 2. His refusal to do crossovers. Crossovers are usually very flashy. In recent years we've seen some great crossovers between characters we didn't think we'd ever see together. We even had a recent reunion between Spawn and Batman. Unfortunately, Marvel has been reluctant to license its characters in recent years, which has deprived us of very interesting ideas. Todd McFarlane has been trying to get Spawn and Spider-Man together for years. Image wanted a sequel to the crossover between Invincible and the Wallcrawler. That's not to mention the refusal to work with DC again. This rejection has not only prevented the creation of new stories, but also makes it impossible to reissue classic crossovers like the Avengers/JLA, the Amalgam Era, or the Great Uncanny X-Men/the New Teen Titans. A real shame, because Marvel is missing out on great opportunities. 1. The lousy development of Spider-Man. With over 60 years under its belt, the Arachnid has gone through countless changes throughout its history. He has been a guest of the Phoenix Force, was a member of the Fantastic Four, the Avengers and X-Men, was possessed by an alien suit, was a millionaire and even swapped bodies with Wolverine and Doc Ock. Despite all of the above, Spider-Man remains in an eternal status quo where the hero does not mature and is always in a deplorable monetary situation. It is known that Peter was in the same school as Jessica Jones, so they are both similar in age, but unlike Jessica, who already has a daughter, Peter continues to act like a naive teenager even though he is already 28 years old. Readers love Spider-Man, and it has been mentioned many times that he could be better than Captain America. A real sadness that we will never see that happen, because while he grows in other universes, in the main one he will always be a stagnant character, and Marvel seems to have no intention of changing this. Many readers are aware of this fact, which has led them to stop buying the character's comics. For now, that has been all for this occasion. Tell us if you agree with the points mentioned here, or if you think we forgot any. Let us know in the comments. We are TCA, and we will see you in the next video.